folks. Glad you could be with me today. Today I'm going to make a small portion of baked beans. Now, usually I make a pan this long and this square, but I'm just making these for 4 to 5 people for 2 days or 1 day, depending how much they just want to eat. But let me get my gloves on here. I done changed one pair off. The only glove that I like to use like this is the ones I get from my friends. I buy them at the Waffle House. And I buy a lot of things at the Waffle House just besides my breakfast and dinner and supper and all that. They're good friends of mine. It's my home away from home. In my town here, Winchester, I'm the oldest member that they got. I've been eating there ever since the day they opened, back in, I'm wanting to say 68 or 9, but I'm not really sure right now without looking it up. But I'm going to make baked beans, and I know my head's kind of cut off, but you know what I look like. And I've done got my baked beans out here. Now, if you want this recipe, you go ahead and get your pencil or paper while I turn my oven on. I'll take my oven, my pan out of the oven. I just use a sheet of aluminum foil in my broiler pan, or cookie sheet, whatever you want to call it. And it keeps me from boiling anything over. It's just a habit. I know these beans ain't going to boil over. But if you've got that pencil and paper now, I'll give you a list of my ingredients. And this is for a 3.5 ounce pound of Van Camp's pork and beans. 3 pounds and 5 ounces, or 1.5 kilogram if you're in Canada or over the UK or wherever. Now, take a minute to write that down. The question comes up, why do I use Van Camp beans? There's bush beans, there's Campbell's beans, B&M, and several others out there on the market. But once you recook them, they will get soft and be mushy. There's not a good other bean out there for cooking and making baked beans other than Van Camp's. Now, you might prefer them. You might prefer yours mushy. But I make probably 100 of these a year because I make them for different friends that ask me to make them. They have cookouts and tailgate parties. There's been more of my beans ate at UK games than you can even know about, because the people tell everybody that they make them, and that's fine with me. I don't care. But I've made a lot of beans every year for UK games. I used to have a gentleman that was kin to part of my family, the Banks family. They're my extended family. Now I was told this and I know I seen him take them, but he's dead now, the gentleman is, I think, as far as I know. He used to come all the way from Florida on New Year's, or not New Year's, but on Thanksgiving and Christmas to get a bowl of my baked beans to take back with him. Now, I was told that. I won't stake my life on that because sometimes people just trying to make you feel good. But I do know he took them back home with him in a bowl, because I always made enough that if he wanted some, he could have it. And I appreciated him liking them. But now, that's the baked beans, and that's why I use Van Camps. They're a far superior bean to anything else. And those other bean companies are supposed to have baked beans in a can. They're not even a baked bean. They're heated up beans, all they are. They got a little bit of spice in them, but spice don't necessarily make a baked bean. The thing that makes a baked bean is the little things that you do to make the big things work. Now, for this size can, if you was using Domino sugar in this recipe, for this size can, you would use 1 1/8 cups packed of back that off. If you was using Domino, you would use 1 firmly packed cup of brown sugar. But they've been out of Domino at Kroger's for the last 2 times I've been out there. So I've got Kroger brand, and I'm not 100% sure who makes Kroger brand sugar, but it don't quite sweeten the way Domino does. And Domino may make it, I don't know. And maybe that's a mental thing. But if you're using Kroger brand, use 1 1/8 cups firmly packed for this size can. Now, if you want to use minced garlic, you can use a 1/2 teaspoon of minced garlic. You don't want to use no more than that. In fact, I wouldn't use it at all. I would use a 1/2 teaspoon of the garlic salt. And the reason why is I'm going to use mustard to enhance all the flavors. And if I use mustard with the minced garlic only in a 1/2 teaspoon, it's going to be way too much for this amount of beans. So I just tell you, that's very usable. If I use this, I wouldn't use over a 1/4 teaspoon. And this still, it's going to be strong. But in this, I'll just use a 1/2 teaspoon. Now, I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of sugar. Now, we're not using the sugar to heighten or increase the sweetness of the beans. The sugar is used to make the brown sugar do what it's supposed to do. Makes it dissolve better, and it opens up the pores of the sugar that was closed because it was making the dark brown sugar, and that will open the pores to where it will dissolve and will enhance the flavor. And instead of having sugary spots in your beans like most people do, you won't have that. You'll have strictly a delicious syrup. And that's the reason for using the sugar. Now, there's a lot of people have recipes for pies and stuff that calls for, I say, 3/4 cup of brown sugar and 1/4 cup of white. Now, they could get by with that, not use all that cane sugar, the white sugar, by using a full cup of brown sugar, a Domino's, and a tablespoon of white. And it would do the exact same thing as what that brown sugar would do in that pie or cake or whatever. So that's enough of that. There's a reason for everything. And so the garlic that I'm going to use is a dash of garlic salt, or basically a half a teaspoon of garlic salt. And I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of salt, regular salt, and a full teaspoon of black pepper, 1 cup of onions, be a plenty for this amount because I'm going to bring every piece of flavor in that onion into these beans. And 1/2 to a teaspoon of mustard. You can get by the 1/4 if you want. I generally use a half because it just adds a little better color to the beans. So without any further ado, if you got no questions, just if you missed something and you want to hear it again, I'm going to repeat everything on the amount of ingredients as I put it in to my beans. We've already got the beans in there. Oh, also you have a full round loop of, let me get out and show you. I've already had it in the microwave getting the grease out of it. And I've got to heat it one more time, but that's my sausage. It's Hillshire's smoked sausage. Now I think I can find a better, a summer sausage that'll work better, more like the old Hillshires used to, and better than this, but this is good. I'm going to heat it one more time before I put it in the beans, because I ain't got quite all the grease out of it. Usually it takes about 3 minutes to get it to where you want it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pour in a cup of onions. We're going to put in our brown sugar. And I'm going to kind of rake that in different spots as we put it in. Sometimes these aluminum pans are a little flimsy, and they don't want to take a whole lot of stirring. I'm going to use that in just a minute. I'll lay it right there. Now I'm going to pour in my sugar, my tablespoon of sugar. Now, Domino's sugar, white sugar. You can't beat Domino's. It cooks better than any other type of sugar. Now, we're going to get a dash of salt, or half a teaspoon. That's all that. And I use a lot of black pepper every year. I go through about 4 of these. And that's a tablespoon of black pepper. Don't have to be exact. Now, the secret recipe of all this is right here. Let me make sure. I don't refrigerate my mustard. No need in it, because it will keep I've had 2-3-year-old containers of that where I buy it in bulk because I use it on just about everything. And a lot of people don't know that that lid will stay back if you just push it back. A lot of people don't know that. But now you do. I'm going to take, oh, it's such a heavy amount, wearing my left arm out. Boy. That's all the mustard we're going to put in there. And that mustard will be a catalyst, just like that sugar is to that brown sugar. That mustard will be a catalyst to everything in there. The sugar, the onions, and it will make those flavors mingle together and incorporate, and you'll never know the mustard's in there, except for it might give it just a little bit more color, but the naked eye won't notice it. Cameras notice it a little bit. But we're stirring this up now, and you don't have to stir it a great deal. I just like to get my onions underneath. Now, a lot of people, and I do sometimes, I'm not going to do into this on this one because I'm out of it, and the Kroger's didn't have any today, is liquid smoke. If you want to put some liquid smoke in your beans, not a thing wrong with that. In fact, I love it. It's just another thing that mustard will work wonders on. And if you can get it and use it, fine. For a can this size, you only have to use 1 capful off the container, which is usually a half to a quarter, whatever size. If you're using a regular teaspoon, it'll be a quarter of a teaspoon, and that's all you need. If you're using a measuring teaspoon, that'll be probably a tad more than a teaspoon, actual teaspoon off the table. But that mustard right there will make that smoke go a long ways. And the same way with them at brown sugar. That little bit of white sugar will make that brown sugar do everything it's supposed to do. It makes it completely dissolve. It makes it completely release all of its flavor. And just can't beat it. Now, I'm going to get my smoked sausage. Now usually I put my smoked sausage in after it has come to a boil. But to have it on the video for you, I'm going to go ahead and put it in. Don't matter. And because I usually heated my smoked sausage up what time the beans was coming to a boil. Now the reason I'm using tongs to pick that up, I don't want to pour any of the grease in there. Now it don't matter if your sausage, some of it stays on top or anything like that, because all it'll do is brown and get that little browning flavor into your beans. and that's perfectly all right. That'll kind of take the place of us not putting any smoke in it. Because this is smoked sausage. It'll have the smoke flavor in it. And that will incorporate into the beans. I'm shaking that grease off of that. I don't like that grease in my beans. However, some people do. But the grease that comes out of these is not pure fat, and it's not as good for you as beef fat or whatever, because there's a lot of hog fat in this, and you don't need the hog fat. People say, well, why is the beef fat any good? If you've got beef talon and mix it with perfectly dried meat, ground up into a powder, or almost a powder, don't have to be a perfect powder, and then you take that talon and mix with that beef, you can actually live on that for 2 years, eat nothing else except it's what they call pemmican. And you can live off that for 2 years and never have to worry about scurvy or anything that would be disastrous to your health. And you'll lose a little weight probably, because you'll not be eating bread and stuff like that with it. But you take the exact same amount in weight of talon, beef talon, and the exact same amount of dried beef. It's jerky that's a lot drier than what you buy out of the store. And it's jerky like I make it, hard as a brick. Same way the Indians used to make it. Break your teeth off if you didn't watch it. And you can eat that stuff for 2 years in a row. It's what Lewis and Clark ate their whole trip. They never had, once in a while they supplemented it with maybe a little fresh meat or fish, something like that, but 95% of their diet was pemmican. And anytime you want the recipe for it, I'll gladly give it to you. Take my grease and add a little detergent to it in hot water, and that takes most of the clogging factor out of it, and you can wash it down your sink with hot water. The Dawn actually emulsifies the grease, bacon grease, whatever. You just got to make sure your water's good and hot before you let it go down your sink. Now this is a very simple recipe, and it don't have to be everything in the world in it to make it good, because you take the brown sugar, it's got the pure cane sugar that's over processed into a burnt sugar to get brown, and it takes place of 90% of the spices that you'd have to put in it. The salt and pepper is just an everyday spice with everything. Garlic is about the same way, only you don't have to use as much with it. And the mustard, you can put mustard seed in that now if you want to, a tablespoon of it, and it'd do the same thing as what the mustard does, because that's just ground mustard seed. So anyhow, let's see if my oven's hot here. Yeah. No, I didn't turn it on. I got my pans out and then forgot to put it on. That's 80 years old for you. That won't hurt a thing. Now I put it on 360 for 45 minutes, and then I get up and check it, and I reset it for another 30 minutes probably. But you don't just some of the sugar didn't come out there. You don't just set it for a certain thing like most people just heat up pork and beans and that's all they got in it to start with, basically. Maybe some onions, but very seldom I find a good baked bean out anywhere for dinners and stuff that I go to. And of course I tell them it's the best I ever ate. Now, I would normally well, the pans, they try to buckle on you, they won't hold much weight at all. That's all right, you fix that right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put these in there and then they'll be heating up because it'll take a full hour to get those onions done. And your smoked sausage is already cooked. All you're doing is incorporating the flavor into the beans. And your beans is already cooked in the can, and you're incorporating the flavor of them into the sugar and the onions. And you'll be surprised if you ever get to eat any of my beans, how flavorful the cheapest onion that you can buy will be. Sometimes I use Texas Sweet, sometimes Vidalias when I can get them. And because I like to eat Vidalias on sandwiches, and I'll buy a 25-pound bag of them when I can get them. But when you actually bring the flavor out of an onion, out of this world, and it won't give you heartburn or anything like that, because you're truly opening up the cells of the onion and taking it, all the goodness out of it. And an onion is one of the most significant things that we can eat. It's got a lot of toxins in it, minerals. It's got just about the exact amount of sulfur that your kidneys need to operate good. And it's just a wonderful product. And green onions is, well, I bring green onions up and fix them and cut them up and put them in bacon grease and just make sandwiches on them, because I love them like that, salt and pepper. Don't need nothing else to make a good sandwich. And by golly, you can tell it the next day because you're going to feel better. It takes a lot of toxins out of your body. It's an antitoxin food, and they've never ever come up with anything wrong with pepper, mustard, or onions. And nothing wrong with, I'm talking about this kind of pepper, and also hot peppers or green peppers or any kind of pepper, chili peppers. If you can stand the heat, the hot ones are good for you.